About the bad quality of the videos. We're in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, at the Longmeadow Cemetery. We're trying to look into the family plot. And the family plot is behind a very important section because the family of the first minister of that first congregational church is buried right in the front here. And the large one says, to the memory of Eliza Condit, consort of Reverend Jonathan B. Condit, who died, and then it gets 1825. And below it is one of their sons, Salaz. Now to the left of that is one of their daughters is buried. And it says, daughter of the Reverend Jonathan and Eliza Condit. And then to the left of that, the third one, the smallest one of all, says daughter again for the same two people. So, where's the Reverend himself? Well, I'll try to find him at some point. Now, behind that is a family plot, and the family plot is for the Gad Bliss family, and they've put out a nice gate there, so it's hard to see the gate from this angle, but the gate can still close. It's a little broken, and it's surrounded by an ornate wrought iron fence. And you can tell it's probably from the later part of our midsection of the 1800s. And inside of there is one family. Now this is to separate the family out. It's not to deter grave robbers. Those kind of fences would be higher and they'd be closer in so the grave robbers could not get inside. Right, so now we're going to walk back a little bit more. Okay, now we're starting to get to a true mixture of all the brownstones and all the marbles now. It just happened a few rows back to the right where you actually have a row of about 6 marbles and 5 brownstones. And then it goes into an obelisk out of brownstone. And some of the brownstone obelisks are having trouble with maintenance because they tend to exfoliate a lot. But when you have an obelisk, there's no headstone or footstone. It's all personal stone now. And you can see those personal stones surrounding the obelisk. So they had to buy a very large family plot in order to obtain that. And so you can see about 9 of the medium-sized personal stones. And then one larger one. The larger one probably is the father himself. Here we're in front of an obelisk that is marble, and you can only see 2 personal stones. There probably should be maybe, I bet, 6 at least. You can see it's kind of smaller, but a lot of those personal stones, after 150 years, might be lost in the ground. But you can still see some brownstones coming around, and the reason why, someone in the family might have died young at 20 years old, and then another sister in that family might have died at 70 years old, and so they moved from the brownstone area into the marble area. Okay, in this section right here is one short of our last point of destination. And at this section you see again a mix of all the brownstones and and marbles, right? And the marble stones back here has lost their willow and urn style. So that willow and urn style was mostly from the very, very early part of the 1800s. Once you get into the latter parts, then it starts to give away or go away. And you can see it's very plain. So you can almost tell the year on the stone by looking at the stone and trying to look at its ornateness or lack of ornateness, and they go from there. There's actually a rhythm to these, or a method to these. Okay, so there's two very important features to point out. Here, notice that you have a receiving tomb, and it has a family name on it, and then two inscribed panels on the very side of it. Now, what could have happened on this is one of two things. It could have been that this was first truly a public receiving tomb, or during the winter time, burials would be put inside of here because the ground was too hard to support being dug. And then the Burt family bought it out and are buried here. And the inscribed panels explain on there who the Burt family was. Or the Burt family might have just bought it right away and wanted to be buried in something like this. Now, almost every town needed at least one receiving tomb, and Longmeadow Cemetery is right here, and so maybe this was public to start with, and they sold it out to the Burt family. That's more likely, but I've seen both cases. I've seen families buy these things out straight. Now, one of the best things about the cemetery is right up next, and that's the beautiful sarcophagi. Right behind the Burt family tomb is sarcophagi for the Burnham family. Now, if you count them, there's 7 of them. I think 4 of them have just a pattern that's the same on top of all of them. And they have their name inscribed, and they also have initials. One of them goes above, higher up, and it tells you it's Howard Burnham, and he died, one of the members of this family died during the course of the Civil War, and I think it was him. It says, I think First Lieutenant Howard Burnham died in Virginia in 1864. Now, one of the tops is different, the 6th one in, and has a very ornate look to it, and so maybe that's something special also. Now, you can see the rest of the cemetery, the old part, from here, and there's not much to go into. All the points I've covered before are covered, that have covered are going to be still bona fide by looking at those stones back there. All right, so I've given you some of the principles that cover this cemetery. So thank you for coming on this step of the Longmeadow Cemetery.